Artists of the Nude exhibition. We have Angélica Dass, Evelyn Bencicova, Julia S.H. and Cloe Jancis. Angélica Dass, Julia S.H., Evelyn Bencicova and Cloe Jancis. Feel free to sit wherever you feel the most comfortable. And the microphones are for you to use. So they should be turned on. Maybe they're not. Fred, are they turned on? We will find out soon enough. So first of all, thank you all for being here. Feeling good? We will find out if the microphones are working or not. Yeah. So, Angélica, Cloe, Julia, Evelyn. With Evelyn and Julia, we have had conversations before, so thank you for those. With you guys, not yet, but this is the opportunity right now. So, my first question for all of you, you don't have to answer if you don't want to, but you can, and if you like to reply to somebody else's comments, feel free to do that. So don't wait for me to turn to you if you feel like you want to say something. And my first question is, why did you guys agree to be a part of this exhibition? And because this is the first round, let's try to keep the questions brief, because otherwise I'm going to be rude and stop you from talking. Angélica, would you like to start?
Well, as in school with A, I'm always the first one to talk, so it's okay, Angélica. And I think that's an amazing opportunity to be with amazing global artists. And in my case, share a story that is a Brazilian story, but was able to connect globally. So I think that is the perfect spot to share this. Okay? Yes, it's enough for you. You want more? I try to be short.
You decide.
Okay.
Do you have anything interesting to add?
Maybe we can come back.
Okay. Who wants to be next? Cloe?
Yes. For me, it's a bit different because I'm a local artist, so it's kind of incredible to be part of like this big international incredible artist team. So it's no question if you get a call, then you answer.
I will agree with that. Just having an opportunity to show here. I mean, if you're turning it down, I don't know who you are. I won't be friends with you. This is a great institution, and also I am exceptionally lucky to show my work here because I feel like this is exactly the kind of place the particular series I am exhibiting should be in order for it to truly make sense for what it is. So yeah, no, I'm super excited to be here.
I'm also very excited, and I said it today in conversation with Johan, who is the curator, that Fotografiska is the institution that aims for a wider audience, so also people that don't necessarily go to art galleries or openings visit Fotografiska, and it is important that in the program are included also exhibitions like this, which open topic that is still provocative. We had this discussion how it is differently approached in different cities by different people. So this very, even though for some of us it feels like this is the topic which is already very normal and doesn't need to be talked about, there is too many proofs that this is something where we still need to have conversations. So hopefully exhibition like this with so many different viewpoints coming from different cultures and backgrounds continues to start these conversations.
And what's the conversation that we need to have?
Basically, the topic of nude, how the exhibition is also called. I don't know how long I can go here, but of course this term itself is interesting because it's not necessarily, there is this essay written about it. I think it's part of Ways of Seeing, where there is this comparison between being naked and being nude. While being naked is being undressed, while being nude is being seen naked by others. And this is the topic which in art history is very common, because there has been a lot of nude portraiture and it's been included in a lot of artworks, and usually it's always the nude of a woman. When we say nude, we imagine...
You mean like David by Michelangelo?
That's an
You mean by
exception.
the Greek, all the Greek sculptures?
Of course, these are also nude, but when we think of, let's say, like Renaissance painting, or like in general, most of the times the image of a woman comes.
And why is that the problem?
It's not necessarily a problem. It's just something which I think exhibition like this ones tries to address, because most of the art, of course there are exceptions, but most of the historical art is of course created by male artists. So.
And is that the problem?
Yes.
And what's the problem?
It's not necessarily a problem, it's rather something that is of course changing. So in the exhibition like this, I think that's what the curator is trying to address by the selection.
And what do you feel your role in that is?
I mean, I'm just one of the participants. I never really saw that my work is dealing particularly with this topic, but I feel like in the project that's part of the show, I'm part of it with the work.
Because the way you explained your exhibition in the morning, it was very, very beautiful because you went very deep with it. Would you maybe like to give a short explanation or an overview about the same thing that you told us in the morning?
So should I describe my work?
You can do that, yes, please.
So the work that you can see here, it's called Eat Her, and it's a continuous work which I created with my collaborator, Samson G. Balfour-Smith. And this is the first chapter called O. And the chapter itself deals with the retranslation of Genesis story. Tell me if I'm too long. I will try to keep it shorter. The Genesis story is the story that you probably all know, and it's the story that is in the beginning of Bible, but not only, it is at the start of other Abrahamic religions. And even if you are not religious, this is the story that widely influenced the culture we live in. I use this example that even the fact that on Instagram you have to censor female nipples are part of its legacy. And if you know, this story is the story of Adam and Eve in the paradise garden, but they are punished because they are curious and they don't obey. And as a result of that, they are expelled from the garden and they realize that they are naked, but suddenly they are ashamed of it. And because of this deed, which is blamed on Eve, we are supposed to die and suffer. So in the work itself, of course, when you think about it, you think that it shows that this disobedience or curiosity, especially if it's a curiosity of a woman, is seen as something bad, shameful, sinful, something to be punished for. And in the work itself, it's based on a text which I wrote, and it's a personal story, but at the same time I was looking at the different translation, because when you look at the original words which are in the Genesis story, they could be translated entirely differently. For example, the word Adam means Adamah, means earth, and Eve means life, fruits mean information, or the snake, which is used there, is actually ancient symbol, which has been used far before, which is symbol of dualism, magic, symbol of the goddess, of the knowledge, and of pharmacon, something which is poison and cure at once. And when we look at this different story, which the work itself tries to say through visual symbolism as well as text, suddenly totally different meaning comes out of it, which is meaning of reaching consciousness, which is of course poison and a cure. It's not always nice to be conscious of everything, but it is the way to empowerment. And this is what happens in the work itself, that the main character, Avatar Eve, kind of unplugs herself from these different chains that are holding us. And I looked in the work. Of course, there are real physical boundaries or limitations that we have, but even something like language is a construct that when we start to deconstruct, we can free ourselves from something that has been limiting us not only physically.
Very beautiful answer. Thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
I would ask so much. I would ask so much more, but because we have other people as well, I'm going to ask you basically the same question. Do you feel like one of the reasons why you were agreed to participate is that there is a problem, there is a discussion that needs to be had? And if yes, then what's the discussion that needs to be had, or what's the problem? Who wants to go first?
Sure. I think what is kind of really problematic, and I'm a Swedish artist who now lives in Los Angeles, California. I've been living there for about 17 years now. I've also lived in England, where obviously moving from Sweden to England, I realized the views on nudity and sexuality is a lot more conservative. And then moving to the United States, I realized it's like a whole other ballgame. I think especially making work in the United States makes me realize just how incredibly sexualized the body is, and I think that is incredibly problematic, that we can't look at a single picture, especially of a woman, without assuming that it is there for sexual pleasure. Usually women are portrayed in a way for other women to either be jealous of and try and aspire to look like them, or for men to basically want to have sex with them. I mean, that's pretty much what exists, at least in my opinion, in the United States. And my work right now deals a lot with really, really big female bodies. And that is also a super controversial thing. It's almost like a body that's now not allowed to exist, a body that in the past was really hailed for being exceptionally beautiful. Throughout art history, we looked at these big, beautiful women, and now they're shunned basically, and they're referred to as bodies that are not desirable, bodies in medical context saying you shouldn't be looking like this is not healthy. So for me, I think it's exceptionally important to speak about nudity in all its shapes and forms, and especially bringing out more of a female gaze too, which is what we have in here now. We have female artists interpreting not just the female body, but also the male body, which I think is really wonderful. And I think this is something that we see too little of, and something that I'm exceptionally excited to be part of.
And so what would the end goal be? Like, if people realize what you're trying to do with your art, then what should the social end goal be to that?
I think that the best thing that would happen is that you would show more kindness to yourself, and through showing more kindness to yourself, you would probably do it to others as well. I mean, we never know what anyone else has been through. We don't know anyone else's story, and why should our bodies be someone else's business?
And do you feel like good art can do that?
It might be aspirational, but we got to start somewhere. And this is a great place for people to actually go and interact with nudity in a way that I don't think you normally would. Like, you have in a museum context, no one in here generally feels self-conscious seeing nudes in a museum. We go and look at them because they have the appropriate context, and we can actually spend time with them. And I think in a way that doesn't encourage any kind of judgment or anything else. Like, we have a really beautiful context to view them in, and I think this can definitely help us in creating some more empathy, I would say.
Thank you. Angélica.
Well, what I'm trying to do with the work that we have here in Fotografiska is try to prove how race is a social construction. And to do that, what I did is take pictures of people in a white background, choose a square of 11 pixels from the nose, paint the background, and then name it as an industrial palette that is called Pantone, trying to search if I will be able to find any human being that fits in the black and white color. That, of course, it is impossible because it is a social construction. It's a work that in the first layer look like I'm speaking about color, and yes, I am, but I really think that the most important information that you will find in my images is exactly the lack of information. In the 4,576 portraits that I did all over the globe in 20 countries in 37 different cities, I was never able to find someone that's black and white. And the most important, you don't know who's the poor, who is the rich, who's the migrant or not, which background each of these persons have. The only information that you can attach to these images just belong to your own stereotype. So what I want people is to really realize that and think about how we see the other. And completing the first question that you did, one of the reasons why it's so special here in Fotografisca is the compromise that they have with education. So for example, the first meeting that we have today in the afternoon was exactly with school teachers, because I really believe in the power of art to be an educational tool. And I think that as an institution, we are all together doing that. With all these works, we are connecting also with a lot of teachers.
And do you think there's a problem with having stereotypes?
I think that this small box that we fit others, it is a problem. As she's saying, people are what they are with their body, with their color, and I really believe that nobody has to be dehumanized by the amount of melanin that they have in their skin. Because as is a genetic trace, and we are talking about that previous in the morning, if we like more salt or sweet is also a genetic trace. Do you imagine discriminate half of the population because someone like, I don't know, more ice cream than popcorn is as idiot as that? Dehumanize someone because of the amount of melanin that they have in the skin.
Do you feel like... And do you feel like the art so far that has tried to struggle with the same concept, with racism and with how people see each other just based on their skin colors, do you feel like, let's say in the past 30 to 40 to 50 years, it has had any positive impact?
Well, I think that the fact that I'm here talking about it clear and loud, being a Brazilian that's a migrant in Spain, is part of this movement to really try to change the narrative. And I really have a good example that I was also part, that was in 2018, that the editor-in-chief of National Geographic, in edition that was in March of 2018, she said sorry, she asked sorry for how National Geographic stereotyped the image of every person that was not white during years in their magazines. You can really see this letter in this edition. It is online. And I think that this is the point. First, recognize how we did that with the different cultures all over the globe. Second, give you the opportunity for these different cultures be able to tell their own stories and really share their point of view, and not being so use art as another way to colonize, to really colonize and dehumanize different cultures.
Thank you, Angélica.
You're welcome.
Cloe.
So many great thoughts that I was kind of wandering around in my head, so I'm like lost a bit.
Is there a problem that your work deals with?
Yeah, definitely there is a problem.
What's the problem?
Well, it started from looking at social media, and I found a phenomenon of there were the videos where people showed how they did makeup, contour makeup, and how they put on different clothes and kind of this kind of the theatrical element of getting ready. It's not a problem, but I had like this. It was interesting. like the paradox, like creating the essence of authenticity, but actually kind of using it as a way of selling products, or kind of making it so that only way that you can kind of enjoy yourself or be proud of yourself or be proud of your body is when you kind of buy these products and contour your face and kind of create this alternate persona. But yeah, this was kind of like the starting point. And definitely it's about social, like this kind of social beauty ideals and this kind of overconsumption, and there's like bad things, but also there's good things, that there's people who really get the platform to express themselves. So there's like different parts of it, and I kind of started from my how I feel, or how I feel when I look at it, and what is kind of my situation or my part of this whole thing.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you, Chloe. So basically, I feel like all of your answers had like a very common theme, which is also one of the themes of this exhibition. And I would like to ask, based on that, do you think that we have the right to not feel uncomfortable?
I think that we all have to feel uncomfortable with the questions that we bring up, because the way that we will move forward in construction, maybe a better society, is exactly from this place of being uncomfortable. All that we are talking here are social constructions that in a moment as a society we said that, oh, this body is good, this body is not. This color is good, this color is not. And I think that the moment or the place that you can question that is exactly from the position of privilege. That is this kind of thing that when you're in a position of privilege, you don't feel that you are in that position, and that is exactly the moment to feel uncomfortable, to see that something is not okay, and maybe I will have to rethink things that I thought that were okay.
But how not uncomfortable can we feel in the end? Like,
Sorry?
let's say everyone faces the problems that you say, like that we need to face right now. We have to deal with those issues. We have to accept that people are different, etc., etc., etc. How far down that line can we go? Is there a place where, like, nobody, if we accept all that, will everything be fine? Or like, what's the minimum of amount of problems and uncomfortableness that we have to accept?
If you're personally asking me, I don't think that this is a question that just one person can answer. I think that all that we are putting here as an artist, I think that our role is exactly that, to make the questions and put in society for us together try to find a collective answer. So I'm not the person that will say which line, but I think that collectively we can find a place that everybody can be in.
Do you guys have answers for that question, please, as well?
I don't have an answer. It was more just a thought, because as I was watching the performance, which was really incredible, I had at some moment this slightly like uncomfortable feeling, and I was wondering like where it came from. And then I thought of some kind of like images or like imaginary of a witchcraft or like witches. Because of this dance and like women dancing together and or like femme identifying bodies and being naked or like half naked, and it kind of reminded me of this scene which has been so like demonized. And then I asked, okay, this is why it makes me uncomfortable, maybe thinking of that. But then when you think of witchcraft itself, it was actually made to be uncomfortable or made to be demonic and evil, similarly to what I'm dealing in my work, because the power didn't wanted women to actually gather and to do rituals together. So I feel like in this Of course, some things are uncomfortable also because they are really bad, really evil. There are some images of violence, etc., that make us uncomfortable for a reason on like a biological level. But I feel like regarding social constructs, a lot of things that make us uncomfortable, it's really important to ask why. What does it remind me? Who said this is bad? Is it really something I morally disagree with? Or is it something that has been rather imposed on me? And to kind of like watch one's own process.
I can only comment on this in the context of the name of the show, which is Nude. And for that, I feel like nudity itself, to me, it's probably one of the most uninteresting things on this planet. And I mean that in a good way. I do think that it is such a loaded subject for so many wrong reasons. And I think there are so many other more important things that we as a society should be looking at than having opinions on nudity itself. So yeah, that's all I got to say about that.
Yeah, I agree with that. If you want to change or be better, then you have to be a bit uncomfortable in like a psychological way. But I would really love to be comfortable in my own skin, or people have the possibility to be comfortable in their own skin. So it's...
But how comfortable? Like, because people who are very comfortable in their own skin are the people who die at 32 of a heart attack. They're the same people who go and kill somebody else because they feel so comfortable in their skin. Like, how comfortable? What's the level of comfort that you're allowed to have?
True. I don't know. I don't have answers to this. It's a complicated question.
And if somebody doesn't accept me because of the way I look, because of the way I dress, because of what I say, because of how I speak, because of my skin color, what's my responsibility to just accept that that's the way this person is? They don't accept me. Okay. Where is it? Do I have a responsibility to my own uncomfortableness? Or is it are they the only ones that are supposed to feel uncomfortable and I'm supposed to just feel amazing and great all the time?
What is the question again?
The question is anybody allowed to be unique? Do you like people being unique? Because you're obviously on this stage because all of you are unique individuals. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
And it feels pretty nice to be unique, right? And isn't
Maybe this is one of the things that we have very special as human beings. We are unique, and at the same time, we belong to what means being human, with all the things that means. I will do a little biological comment because in some ways, we are 99.9 genetically identical. If you really think about what makes us unique, it's the 0.01%. And this one is what really makes us unique and special. When you were talking about what are the levels, because maybe I can bring one layer to the conversation, leaving clear that I don't have the final answers, but I really think that my right stops in the moment that I'm really erasing your right and who you are. Of course you can be who you are, and someone that don't agree can kill you because of that. So this is the point. I think that there are some layers in our society exactly that are also social constructions, and that we all the time discuss and move in these lines. Maybe an example that is nothing to deal with nude is that the earth that is flat. It's not flat, no? Everybody here recognize that the earth is not flat, but there's people on this planet that believe that the earth is flat. And there are people that were killed because they are saying that the earth is flat. And you have all this time and all this years and years and centuries of science and discussion in our society for us now agree that everybody, I think that agree that the earth is not flat, but you also have people that continue thinking that the earth is flat. This is also part of being human. We have these contradictory conversations and feelings around all the tables. What we do with that to don't dehumanize the other that you have in front, to don't take off the life, the rights of someone that you have in front. I think that maybe these lines that we want to put will be close to what I'm trying to say.
Beautiful. But would you guys agree that if you are unique in any way, because let's say, like, I've lived alone in a part of the world where there were no white people, and I was the exception there. And people pointed their fingers at me, and they said weird things about me, and I understood it because I was the exception there. Now, if you're an exception in the society, let's say you're super overweight, you're a different skin color, you're whatever that makes you look different. So that means you are unique in that context. And being unique in that context also means that the price of being unique is having to accept judgments, having to accept the fact that people see you as different because you actually are different. Like, we can't erase the fact that we're different.
So the point that we are different, of course, it's all the time in the table.
And that's why I'm going to just ask again, and if you have any answers to that, I would be super happy to hear that. If you are actually different in whatever context where you find yourself, like, what's your responsibility of just being like, yeah, I am different here, so it's fine. I feel uncomfortable because everybody is different than me, and I just have to accept that. I don't have to force everybody else to just be like, hey, I'm just like you guys, because I'm not.
I mean, maybe it sounds aspirational, but I think it has to start with you and your own self-worth, which is really hard to create with all these outside voices that we have all the time telling us what we are and what we're not are. But it's not going to start with someone else saying you're this and you're fine, and then you're going to listen to that. And it's really just got to come from you to at least let that. I mean, if you can, and I understand that there's like an insane amount of unwarranted violence and horrendous shit happening. And that just shouldn't happen, but yet at the same time, to be strong enough to not let that define you. I think, I mean, it's aspirational for sure, but I do think that creating your own self-worth is where it's got to start.
And I don't think that is just so part of. I think that you are giving your example, and I think that I navigate that all the time. Imagine how people interact with me just walking around this neighborhood, or when I arrived in the airport, or even living in Spain. I always explain that the reason why I created the work that I created was exactly because I was not living in Brazil. For being outside and being in this position of being unique, the difference, so was exactly what makes me, as an answer for that, to transform this in a creation and try to do a work that, for example, is extremely focused in education. I'm trying with my own body, with my own practice, create the world that I want to live in. So I think that this is the way that I can do it. It's the only way. I don't know the line, and I'm aspirational, maybe, but every day this is what I try to do. I will fail. I love to quote Tupac Shakur. I don't know if people know. So we see the age when I mention Tupac Shakur. So I see the ones that hear Tupac or not. But he used it to say that I'm not going to change the world, but I guarantee that I will spark the brain that will. So this is my point. I have no idea if I will change the world, of what I'm doing will really transform and create the world that I live in. But every day, what I try to do, maybe I will spark a brain around. Maybe it was one of the teachers. Maybe it will be someone that will see an exhibition. That maybe in the future, when they met someone that will they're different one, and maybe they will look like me. Maybe they will have a different behavior. Maybe they will be a little bit curious. Maybe they will ask more questions. Maybe they will put out all the stereotypes and boxes and all the things that we learn what means the other, and they will act in a different way.
Wonderful.
Can I say something? I feel like, rather than even like having a personal experience, because I feel like everyone is kind of unique, but I don't have experience of being very different. But I feel as we are sitting here also more as kind of image makers, we are making images, or some kind of storytellers, or anyone else who is storyteller in any kind, either writer or even just like tells the stories, I think like that also does something important, because when you include when you include these people that are, let's say, considered different, or when you go closer to their stories and you try to communicate them, I think a lot of difference, especially the one that is seen negative, comes from misinformation and lack of contact, lack of touch. I'm from Slovakia, and I can see like there is so much in the political campaign that was actually successful, which was built around refugees, even though there are actually almost no refugees coming to Slovakia. But so much of the political campaign was actually built on this hate and how these people are coming, how they are dangerous, which is not even true. But most of the people in Slovakia also don't really have experience with people from this community, so it's very easy to build this kind of scenario. And I feel like as anyone who is kind of communicator through our works, even including these stories, it's actually not in my project, but it's in so many projects that are part of the shows. It's kind of including also these communities or these people in the visual kind of history. And I feel like then when it's happening more and more, as we can see in many ways, we stop actually seeing these things as really different. We kind of accept them as part of our world. So I feel like even though of course one work never makes a difference, I think like works can be parts of making a real difference if they really join together in a way.
Okay, thank you. Evelyn and Julia, both of you mentioned something about how males have viewed females over the years, and how a lot of art is basically nude females and it's made for males. Now, if I'm wrong, you can correct me, but I believe that pretty much everyone who's in this room is in this room because a male was attracted to a female in a sexual way. Otherwise, we would not exist.
And female to male.
Also that, but because you specifically mentioned males being attracted to females and art being about that, then that's why we're all here. So my question is, what's the point where you where sexualization has gone too far, or because we do realize that we need to be attracted to each other, otherwise we will stop existing.
Do you mean in an image-based medium? Is that the question?
For example, yes.
I'll speak to that. I feel like we have plenty of images of attractive females that are to be desired, and I don't feel like I particularly need to feed that machine myself. So for
but
me,
my question is, what is the right balance? Like if we look at, like I mentioned before, Michelangelo's David, for example, which is obviously of a male, but let's take something of equal visual beauty, let's say, of a female. Is that okay? Is that a fine thing, or is like, because everybody has an idea of what over-sexualization is. It might be different for everybody, but I'm sure you agree that there is a point of it which is okay and which is...
I mean, in terms of art, I wouldn't tell anyone what to do. I mean, art is sacred. Comedy is sacred, in my opinion. Those two things, like you don't touch, you get to do what you want. But it's not the kind of work I want to create as an artist, and that's the only stance I can take. And I'm not going to tell anyone else what to make. Yeah.
Well, I'm still in the thinking process, and I don't really have a clear answer, so just freestyle. I don't think that these nude images that I was referring to from history are all necessarily sexual. Of course, like often they are, and of course these images, how also today commercial images has been, let's say, ordered, and they were supposed to decorate also people's houses, etc. But I don't think like the motivation behind them was always sexual. I feel like, of course, when we look at this history of art, it is definitely a problem that women were not allowed there. We can agree on that. but this part of
Wait, sorry, no, we can't agree on that. You have to specify what do you mean by that. Women weren't allowed where, and in history, you mean whose history and what period of history?
wow. Okay. I feel like in the history of art, I'm not going to be really exact here because I don't feel that's my role. Most of the art that we know that was created, that we learn in the art history, is created by male artists because they had access to education, maybe opportunities, free time. Of course, there are some female artists, but as we are looking at the society today, which of course people don't have also the same opportunities, and I think even in this time there is many people and women who are not able to pursue artistic path or create art. We can see this division of genders is very different, right? So there probably is some difference in the access to be in charge of having a word, talk, make an image, to communicate, to speak. Yeah, I would say there must be something. It's like a conversation, so.
Thank you. Before I give the word to the audience, I would like to ask one more question, and then if you have any additional comments to anything, feel free to add those. My question is, having worked in this building for quite some time, and having seen exhibitions which feature any kind of nudity, then I've seen a lot of people getting very uncomfortable. And for a lot of people, for a huge chunk of the society, all the talk about diversity, about accepting everyone as they are, about being more inclusive, etc., 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 is a topic that has become stale over the past 10 years, and people feel that they're super fed up with it. People feel that they can't take any other word that even is associated with those terms. And if they come here, if they go to the exhibitions, they will, especially if they're with the children, they will very quickly turn around and be like, this is not what I want to see. I can't take this kind of stuff anymore. Why do you push this down my throat? Because they won't even take the time to read what's written next to the pictures. They just see something. They see a penis. They see some boobs, whatever. Then they feel like, no, this is too much for me. I'm just gonna quit. I'm just gonna leave. I'm never coming back here. So you can't even reach those people because they will be turned away before you can even say the first word or have them read the first word. So what would you say to somebody like that if you would have a chance to talk to them or to say something to them? Because the reason why I'm asking that is because most of the people who are, for example, here, who are happy to go to see the exhibition and who want to go and see the exhibition, they already agree with everything that you guys said. And many of the people who don't are not going to listen to a word that you're saying because they get frightened away.
Maybe again, ask this question, why are you uncomfortable? What do you think they would say?
Well, first of all, I don't know. I guess there is 1,000 different reasons why. But the main one would be the fact that I already brought out, that many people feel that these topics have been so over-discussed in the past 10 years, and they just feel like, why are you doing this to me? Yeah, why? How long does it have to go? And yeah,
Because
I'm just trying to imagine, because I don't know for sure, but that would be my guess.
I think with this kind of attitude, it's very hard to do anything, because it feels to me like attitude that immediately wants to oppose something. But I saw the exhibition also in Berlin, so I had some time to look at all the works. And I feel like there are, I don't know now how many artists are there, 32 now, right? But there are so many different topics. Nude is actually really not topic of most of them. There are different nuances to nude. There is, it's focused on skin color, different shapes, motherhood. I find very interesting this male nude, which I'm seeing here on the book cover. There are so many different topics included in it. So, yeah, I mean, I'm sorry for these people that they turn away so quickly, because maybe they would, if they would really look and pay attention, they would change their opinion. Maybe not.
I'm a kind of a dreamer, as you can see with all the things that I said here. And I really believe that when the verbal language is not enough to communicate, art speaks clear and loud. This is what I expect when people are in front of my piece. I have different strategies to really do that. I really think that with my topic, most of my exhibitions are outdoor, and I cover buildings, and I do a lot of outdoor installations because I'm interested, especially in the ones that don't agree with me. So part of my work is to outdoor. But when we are indoor, I really think that one of the strategies that the museum have, the photographers have, that is bring the teachers to really be able to amplify what this exhibition is a good strategy to connect with the ones that maybe will not come here. And I agree with Evelyn. There are people that I will not be able to connect, to talk, and it's okay, because not even, and you were talking about Eve, yeah, Adam and Eve, not even Jesus Christ. My mother used to say that not even Jesus Christ was someone that everybody loves, so why everybody will love you? So this is the point. So sometimes focus, and I had a Senegalese teacher that he said something that was really marked me in this goal to really touch everybody. He said that, well, fresh fish, it's very easy to mold, and the dry fish, you break it. So forget about the dry fish. Continue working on that, focusing that. This is the place that you put energy. Maybe this is the thing. Accept that those people that they will not be interested, and it's okay. So we move forward and we continue.
Okay, I have a specific question to you. Yes.
I have to be a little bit more
So
quiet.
because no, because everything that you say is very beautiful, and the theme of your work is also obviously very beautiful. Everybody looks different, but we're all still human. It's beautiful, drala, wonderful. My question is do people have a right to be afraid of people who look different?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm not saying that you don't have the right to be afraid, that you will not can be scared, that all of these things that we are talking about, even if racism, LGBT, homophobia, all of these phobias, and so they are all social constructions, and the only way that we can change this narrative is being curious, is through education, and it's the everyday work.
I can see what you're saying. I have a tiny problem with that. You're from Brazil, right?
Yes.
Yes, a beautiful, wonderful country. And you would okay, and you would agree that a very large portion of Brazil's native peoples were very, very kind to strangers who had skin tone like mine, and let them in. And as a result of that, people with skin color like mine killed a whole lot of people there. And so, isn't it that people from Brazil were a bit too kind and too accepting of foreigners?
The problem that what you're sharing is that which historical moment you were talking about, because this is a really
there are many. Let's go to the beginning.
This is the whole story of Brazil, and not just Brazil, but the whole continent that is America, that was developed in different ways. Brazil was the last country in this planet to abolish the trade of human beings from the African continent. So what you're seeing is exactly that. It was a country that, if you go specifically, wanted to talk about story, was a country that during the 20th century has really planned to widen all the population with a lot of migrants that came from the whole Europe and received lands there, while African descendants were out in the streets. So continue.
Okay,
Go ahead.
my final question. Would you agree that people who, let's say, look like me and bought and sold slaves, or with people who came to South of America and killed 90% of the population there in the 16, 17, and 1800s. Would you agree that being afraid of those people is not just a social construct, it's actually quite right to be afraid of those people?
We can
There's very deep reasons for that.
We can't compare the dynamics of a society 500 years ago with the dynamic that we have there. And this is one of the things that I decided to do. I have a very painful story in the past with my ancestors that are African descended, native indigenous, and European descendants. With this past, recognizing all the pain, now in the present, I want to construct a new future. That is the reason why I decided that the place that I will speak about this, it's a place full of empathy and love. I will not repeat the same things that I have in my back, that I just need to look a little bit in the back to realize that. So it's a personal decision. So if people want to have another one, I'm okay with that, but I will continue to work on this. And with more people I can, with my work as an artist, convince that maybe this is the way that will be better. Not for me, because this is not about me. This is about us, as human beings, better.
Okay, I believe we have about 10 minutes to have questions from the audience. Does anybody have any questions for anyone? And if you do, you can either like shake your hand vigorously, because I don't see too well with the bright lights, or you can just make like beep beep noise or something like that. Do we have anyone that has anything they want to ask? Please, hello. I will just repeat it for the cameras and for the recording. Elo's question was, with participating in this exhibition, have you found any other new artists that have been inspirational? Is that fair recounting roughly? Okay.
I mean, I can answer to that, and that is also probably the answer I would give to the stubborn person who don't want to go into the exhibition. It's just the immense value of having so many shared perspectives on this topic and realize how broad it is. And it makes me feel, coming here with my work, that I'm just like a little sand grain on the beach kind of thing, which is wonderful. So I think, yeah, just actually being able to come in here and feel like it's been an educational tool even for me to learn about not just the practices of these artists, but also what they're trying to communicate. And also it felt like a passport to a lot of worlds that had been inaccessible to me before, at least from the point of view of the work that's in the show.
Yeah, for me, of course, like there were many works that through which I learned something new or that I find interesting. Just to be a bit specific, I'm like whole time looking here at this book with the male nude photography, which there are, I think, 2 projects of, but this one specific, which is kind of also referencing this classical painting and a lot of female nudes together. It will connect the dots when you see the images. I'm not really used to see male nude in this form, because you mentioned David, which is a male nude we know, and I feel like we know when we think of male nude, we think of this heroic warrior athlete in a pose. As well as with female nude, you most of the time think of a beautiful Venus, which is laying somewhere. And I feel like, especially in this male nude portrait, sitting at the pool and kind of just being like this, I find these images, when I saw them, something was in me like, wow, this is kind of I'm not used to seeing this, even though this is reality. This is how we are most of the time. So I feel like this work particularly sparked in me something where I exactly thought like, think the nude is, it showed nude in its more like natural state, and that's why we get uncomfortable in it. When it's this perfect nude to look at, to find pleasure in, we are fine with it. But when it's the nude, which is maybe too natural or too disfigured or like too much reminding us of ourselves, that's when we are easier offended.
No answers from you guys? You don't have to answer. That wasn't a condescending question right now. I'm very sorry. Evelyn, that was a very, very beautiful answer. Does anyone else have any questions? We have room for one more, maybe two more questions. No? Okay, well then I will just ask a follow-up question though, because basically what you're trying to say with your answer, the fact that because art in the past and mostly for most of human history has been about ideals, has been about where human beings want to reach, what we want to find holy and beautiful and perfect, because human beings are obviously not perfect. We're very, very, very flawed. Because that's what art has been about for most of human history, then it's something that we find beautiful and comforting to look at, because it's aspiring to be something greater. But if we see ourselves as we really are, which is ugly and broken and like not perfect in 1,000 ways, then this makes us uncomfortable, and that's why we don't want to look at it.
Yeah, which I think like this world ugly is again something quite like specific, because what is ugly? Like, is it something that's opposing to the ideal? You know, like we can see in the beauty ideals, like the development of the beauty ideals, which again, when I use these terms, it makes me think of females again, you know, like probably there were beauty ideals for males too, but you know, like different kind of features, as you were saying, different body shapes were considered beautiful. So there is no clear definition of beautiful and ugly, and the fact that we connect the natural, like the more natural form with ugly, it's kind of how it is often, but maybe not so right. Or what is ugly for you?
Well, it's actually quite simple. What is good and what is bad is quite easy to define, and what is beautiful and what is ugly is quite easy to define. Because this, for example, this is a very good glass, right? And why is it good? It's good because it does what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to be filled with water or any other liquid. Like this here, this is a very bad glass, because if you pour water on it, it won't stay there. So it's a bad glass. So it's an ugly glass, I would say. If you would call that a glass, the chair. If you call the chair a glass, I would say this is a very beautiful glass. But the chair is horrible. And with art, exactly the same. If you have whatever you're trying to show people, if it is doing what it's supposed to do, then people call it beautiful. And the further it gets away, if you show a decomposing body, people would say this is an ugly body because it's decomposing. It's not alive. It doesn't serve a purpose anymore.
That's, I think, true, but it's very, like, it's there, we get on this more, like, biological level, which, of course, is it's true, it creates this reaction, but at the same time, when we take your way of thinking, which you described, then what is the purpose of the body? Let's say it's not a decomposing body, because it's actually, let's say, from the works that are there is no images of something really violent and disfigured, which, of course, can be shown in art, but it naturally creates more reaction, which is maybe not pleasant. But with the bodies that are there in the show, like, it would pose this question: what is the purpose of the body? Is it to be liked? Is it to be desired? Is it to be sold and like put products on, or is it to carry us through the world and like be the carrier of our thoughts, or is it the carrier of children? I don't know.
And that would be a beautiful discussion, but we don't have any time to have that. So thank you very much. Please help me in thanking everyone. Angélica Dass, Cloe Jancis, Julia S.H., Evelyn Bencicova. Thank you everyone very much. So you guys have until...